Hi, today we will learn how to create an audio player with Appgyver. Let's create a new app, name it audio player. We'll remove the default headline and paragraphs. Let us add a container. We will call it the audio player. Then we will add a little bit of border to this container. Border style solid, border width 1, and border color is black. Then for a rounded edge we'll set the radius to 15 and save. Now we'll add a slider component which will be our seek bar for the audio player. Set the label to audio player again. We'll set the margins to 8 on both the sides, all 4 sides. Now for our buttons we will add a row component and maybe we won't change the margins right now. Let it. We'll add 4 cells, and the last cell the ratio will be 2:5. There we'll add a paragraph which will be the text that shows the current time and the total time. We'll name it time for now. And center align. Now let us add icons. This will be our play button, stop button and rewind button. Align them to the middle of the cell, both horizontally and vertically. So this will be our play button, so we change the icon to play. We'll change the font to make it a little bigger and give it a color. Then we will add the same formattings to both the other icons. Save. Then we will go to the variables section and create page variables. One is to hold the current time. Set it to number. The second variable will be audio time, which will hold the total duration of the audio file. Let's rename this to current underscore time and then save it. Back to our view. Let us add the formulas to display the current time and the total duration on this label we have made. Let's bind it to a formula. Let us look at this formula. Both our variables, current time and audio time, will be in seconds. So to convert it into a minute second format, what we are doing is For the minute part, we are dividing the time in seconds by 60, and for the second part we are getting the remainder of that division. Then you can see I have used left pad, that is to add an extra 0 on the left side when the minute or the second is single digit. So if it's 1 minute and 1 second, instead of 1 colon 1, it will show 01 colon 01. There seems to be a problem with the variable audio time. I believe I didn't change its type to number. So let's go and do that. Back to the page variables section and changing the variable type to number. This should solve our problem there. Yes. So this is the format in which the time will be shown. We'll set a preview value time. So we are done here. Now before we add logic to the play buttons and the pause buttons, there are some components we need to install from the market. Preload audio for playback is one of them. Start resume audio playback. Get audio playback info. This will be used to get the information for the current audio being played. Stop audio playback to stop the audio. Pause playback. And then seek audio playback. So once these are installed, let us go to our page mounted event. Let's create a variable audio loaded, set it to true or false, boolean type, with initial value false. On our page mounted, we will add a flow function to preload audio for playback. So once the audio is loaded, we are going to set the page variable we just created, audio loaded, to true, so that we know the audio is already loaded for playback. We will return to this section in a while. Let's save it and go to the preload audio node. In the audio source section, we will type in the address of the audio file. I have used a file stored on my web server. Next, we are going to give this a unique playback ID, say 12345 in this case. Then we are done. We go to the logic for the play button. First of all, with a if condition, we are going to check if our audio is loaded. If it's not loaded, we are going to show a toast saying audio not loaded. If the audio loaded is true, then we continue first with the get playback info node. We are going to get the info for the playback ID 12345 we had just loaded. Again with an if condition, we check the output of the get playback info node, and we check the playback dot status. Status can have three values: playing, stopped, or paused. So when it's stopped or paused, we are going to resume audio playback, start or resume audio playback. If someone presses the button when the audio playback is stopped or paused, we are going to start or resume the audio playback for playback ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Else, if the audio is already playing, we are going to pause the audio playback. Now to change the icons when the play button is pressed or the pause button is pressed, we'll change the name of this icon to play pause button. Then from the flow function market, we will add a function set component property. When we start or resume the audio playback, we change the play pause button, its icon, to pause. And we will copy that, and when the audio is paused, we will change it to play. Now when the file has started to play, let us write the logic for getting the current time. Let's add a get playback info node, and we'll get the playback info for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the playback ID we are using, and we will change the name of this node to info for time, because we are trying to get the current time from this node. Then we will add a set page variable node. We will set the current time to the output of the previous node, info for time, and the current time property. This will set the current time only once. So for the current time to change every second, to give a continuous update, we will add a delay of 1 second right there, and connect it to the previous node, kind of making a loop. Now again we will add another if condition that checks if the audio has completed playing, stopped playing. We will check the status. It shows status is incompatible, so we are going to use the formula. If the playback status is stopped, we will change the icon again to the play button. Now we will set up the seek bar. We will bind its value to current time. The preview of 0. The minimum value will be 0 because the audio starts at 0, and the maximum value will be audio time. the total time for the audio. I think rest is fine, so we leave it as it is. Since we have bound this seek bar to current time, when the seek bar is changed, the value of current time will also change. Now let us add a node to seek the playback to current time, which will be changed when you slide the slider. Now to the rewind button, we will add the logic to rewind a couple of seconds when this is pressed. So we will add a get playback info node again and seek, yeah, of course, for the same playback ID, and then seek the playback for again the same ID to the current time, which is provided by the get audio playback info node, and we will subtract it. We will first convert it into an integer, then subtract 10 from it, so it rewinds 10 seconds. Now the logic for the stop button, it's pretty straightforward. Stop playback for the playback ID 12345. Here we are going to change the icon also, the play icon, back to its original shape, the play button. Also we are going to change the page variable current time to 0, so that the seek bar also comes back at 0, set to 0. Let's go back to the logic for page load. Here we will add a set page variable node. We will set the audio time, which is the total time, to the duration we get from the get audio playback info node. That's done. Let's go to our preview app and see if it's working. The play button seems to work fine. The seek bar works okay. The rewind button is doing its job, and the stop button too.